McQueen. Crazy McQueen. McQueen and I got along pretty good.
A blazing secret smoldered behind the barbed wire sets of The Great Escape. James Garner, the smooth-talking ace who thrilled viewers in Maverick and later crack cases in the Rockford Files, hid the tale for years, yet the lock has finally snapped open. During filming, he collided with Steve McQueen, a rebel hero whose cool stare could freeze a room. Their clash was no scripted duel. It was a real battle pride that flickered in every shared scene. The fallout stayed buried until long after Garner left the stage of life. But the curtain is up at last, and the sparks are flying. Before we sift through the shocking fallout, we roll back to the rough road that shaped Garner into a fighter. Born James Scott Bum Garner, on a dusty day in April 1928 in Denver, Oklahoma, he faced hardship at every turn. The Great Depression squeezed his family dry, and the boy lost his mother at 5, a wound that never healed. His father, Weldon, tried to keep a hardware shop alive, yet fire and poverty crushed that plan and dragged him toward drink. Young James and his 2 brothers hustled for food, sometimes forced to sing for strangers, then whipped if they refused. Garner later said the blows landed hardest when his father married again. For stepmother Wilma ruled the house with cruel hands. Wilma lashed him with branches and even made him wear dresses to shame him in front of friends. At 14, the quiet boy finally erupted. He wrestled the branch from her grip and pinned her, only stopping when his father stepped between them. Garner confessed that if Dad had not stepped in that day, the story might have turned deadly. Weldon soon vanished, leaving the boys to fend for themselves in a house filled with echoes. Yet James refused to sink. He hopped jobs like stepping stones, even joined the Merchant Navy, though violent seasickness ended that voyage fast. For a strange stretch, he modeled underwear, a light-hearted twist in a life hardened by loss. War soon called. Drafted into the Army in 1950, Garner shipped to Korea with the 5th Regimental Combat Team of the 24th Division. 2 days in, a mortar blast peppered him with shrapnel. Months later, friendly fire tore through his unit and wounded him again. He earned 2 Purple Hearts, though he brushed off praise with a grin. The battlefield left him with another odd legacy, a fierce hatred of garlic that saved his life more than once. One day, his unit stew reeked of the spice, so he skipped dinner, only learning later that poison had rotted the pot. On a different night, he sniffed garlic on the wind, sensed the enemy crawling close, and his quick warning gave his squad the upper hand. Back in the States, Garner pumped gas, laid carpet, and searched for a purpose. Fate stepped in when he met Paul Gregory, a sharp-eyed future agent who urged him to try acting. Garner shrugged it off. Yet years later, the same name glowed on an agency sign, and he walked through the door. Gregory landed him a silent spot in the Kane Mutiny court-martial, a blink-and-you-miss-it role that still cracked the gate. Soon he stood beside Marlon Brando in Sayonara, but the real break thundered in 1957. Garner slipped into the slick boots of Brett Maverick, a card shark with a lazy smile, and television caught fire. Viewers could not look away from his offhand jokes and twinkle in the eye, and Maverick rocketed past heavier shows to dominate Sunday nights. Yet big ratings did not shield Garner from studio claws. When a writer's strike froze Hollywood in 1960, Warner Brothers tried to halt his pay. The star who drew millions of viewers suddenly received a pink slip stamped no scripts, no work. Betrayal lit a fuse inside him. He marched into court, accusing the studio of breaking its promise. Many thought he was gambling with his whole career, but Garner read the cards right. He won the lawsuit and proved no studio could push him around. Warner Brothers dangled a richer deal afterward, yet the trust was broken. Garner said the system treated him like a puppet on tangled strings, so he cut every cord and walked away. The show limped on without him, with Jack Kelly still playing Bart Maverick, yet fans felt the spark dim. Executives rushed to find a near twin to fill the gap, but no one matched Garner inch for inch. His exit was a thunderclap that echoed across television and paved the road to his next challenge, the sprawling war epic The Great Escape. On that set, the tension between Garner and McQueen brewed, like storm clouds. McQueen was a blonde bullet who craved the spotlight, while Garner played a polite scrounger who slipped past guard with a smile. Cameras captured camaraderie, yet off-screen the 2 men measured each other like boxers touching gloves. Arguments flared over billing, screen time, even motorcycle shots. Each accusation fell sharper because both men had clawed their way out of poverty and were not about to bow now. One rumor claimed McQueen tried to steal a key scene by riding closer to the camera, forcing Garner to pull him aside for a blunt warning. Another whisper said Garner saved crew members when McQueen's high-speed stunt spun out of control. The truth hides somewhere between those tales. Yet one fact is clear. Their rivalry burned hot enough to melt the barbed wire props. Garner stayed classy in public, yet friends say he vented in private, calling McQueen a restless spirit who could not share the stage. McQueen fired back by pushing for late script changes that boosted his own lines. The Cold War raged until filming wrapped. Then both men snapped shut about it for decades. Only after Garner passed did his guarded comments trickle out. In one taped chat, he admitted McQueen was an amazing talent yet stubborn as a mule. He laughed that working with him felt like playing chess with a fox who keeps knocking the board over. These quiet words slid into the public ear and painted a vivid picture of pride battling pride. Why did Garner keep the secret so long? Those close to him believe he respected the craft too much to drag dirt into daylight while cameras still rolled. They also think he knew that battles sometimes spark better work. And The Great Escape still crackles with that tension today. Garner's journey from abused child to war hero to heavyweight actor proves that grit and grace can share one heart. His fist never flinched, yet his smile never faded. Even the feud with McQueen shows the same stubborn flame, and the sparks still light up cinema screens for new viewers every year. Blazing drama slammed into Maverick when studio bosses tried to fool loyal viewers. They hired Robert Colbert, an actor whose jawline and grin mirrored James Garner, so closely that crew members did double takes on the lot. Colbert felt trapped in a strange game of copycat. He told friends, "I would rather play a woman named Brenda than pretend I am James Garner." That sharp line spread through makeup trailers like wildfire, and audiences soon sensed an echo instead of the real deal. Warner Brothers tried another gamble by rolling out Cousin Bo Maverick with fresh-faced Roger Moore in the saddle. The plan sounded clever, a family tree of charming rogues who could keep stories fresh for years. Yet writers boxed each Maverick into separate tales, so fans never saw the banner that sparks true magic. Ratings dipped, and both Moore and Colbert rode off before the next season began. Their exit left Jack Kelly fighting alone in the final stretch, a lone card shark without the lively table talk that had once hooked millions. Even loyal fans drifted away. Behind the curtain, the studio first pictured Bo as a globe-trotting gambler with polished manners and a crisp British voice. They flew rising star Sean Connery to Hollywood and pitched the role with grand promises. Connery smiled, then turned them down flat, chasing larger adventures that soon made him Bond for life. Roger Moore, already charming viewers in The Alaskans, stepped in as Plan B. Trouble hit when a writer's strike froze new pages, so Warner Brothers raided the vault and grabbed old Maverick scripts, swapping names but leaving plots almost intact. Moore saw the recycled twists, and after only 37 episodes, the Alaskans vanished into the snow. Though Maverick, without Garner, limped towards sunset, the character refused to die. In 1994, director Richard Donner lit a fresh campfire around the legend, crafting a big-screen adventure with Mel Gibson dealing the cards as Brett Maverick. Gibson blended mischief, speed, and razor-sharp timing that echoed Garner's golden years, and theaters rocked with laughter. Garner himself rode back into the franchise as Marshall Zane Cooper, a lawman with twinkling eyes who carries more secrets than bullets. His return felt like an old friend stepping through the door, and viewers cheered the bridge between past and present. Few knew Paul Newman had first been offered the badge, but after Newman declined, fate swung it back to the man who built the town. The movie piled up glowing reviews and heavy coin, proving the Maverick legend still carried weight nearly 4 decades after its birth. Critics noted that Garner's calm authority glued the new cast together, while Gibson later admitted he binge-watched early episodes to capture the original rhythm. Yet before that triumphant encore, Garner faced his toughest co-star on the rugged set of The Great Escape. Behind rows of barbed wire and looming guard towers, a fierce rivalry flared between him and Steve McQueen, a showdown that still echoes through film lore. The Great Escape, shot in 1962 and released the next summer, spins a true inspired tale of Allied prisoners trapped in a Nazi camp who refused to bow. under the bold guidance of Big X. Played with iron resolve by Richard Attenborough, every captive adds a unique skill to the breakout. British officers forge papers, Australians craft disguises, and American flyers trade intelligence under the guards' noses. Garner's Flight Lieutenant Robert Henley, nicknamed the Scrounger, turns charm into a weapon. He sweet-talks guards, sneaks tools past searches, and hides contraband in plain sight, all while flashing an easy grin. Across the yard, McQueen's Captain Virgil Hiltz, branded the Cooler King for his regular trips to solitary, answers every lockup with the thunk of a baseball against concrete, his rebel streak gleaming like fire in the dark. Meanwhile, Charles Bronson claws through choking dirt as Danny, the Tunnel King. One tunnel gets discovered inches from freedom. Air pumps fail. Forged documents smear under sweaty palms. Yet the men refuse to quit. On escape night, 80 heroes slip into the woods, hearts pounding, only to face Gestapo patrols waiting with cold rifles. Their sacrifice lands heavy, but their courage roars through every frame and gives viewers a reason to cheer and weep at once. Cameras capture that sweeping drama, yet real tension burned between takes. McQueen, still climbing the ladder of fame, obsessed over screen time, worried that Garner's smooth style might steal his thunder. He pressed director John Sturges for sharper lines, riskier stunts, and more close-ups. Sparks flew until McQueen earned the now legendary motorcycle lead that stamped his name into pop culture. Even with that showstopper, Garner's steady glow balanced the movie, proving the story worked best as a true ensemble. The rest of the cast delivered in spades. Attenborough radiated steadfast courage, Bronson supplied raw grit, and James Coburn tossed in dry humor that eased the strain. When the film premiered, critics split in two. The New York Times called it mechanical, while Time magazine praised its relentless pace and vivid setting. Audiences made the final call, packing theaters and turning The Great Escape into a timeless monument to brotherhood and bravery. But what did James Garner truly think of Steve McQueen's restless energy on set? Garner kept that answer locked away for decades, yet the silence is cracking right now. A sizzling spotlight reveals that behind Hollywood's glitter lived bitter rivalries. From the golden age of today, fans have feasted on feuds that burst from envy, ego, and ambition. James Garner, celebrated for his laid-back charm and rock-steady professionalism, faces own battles. Even with co-star Steve McQueen, on the surface they played pals in The Great Escape. Yet McQueen's cool detachment and odd habits widened the gap. He arrived in a Rolls-Royce, holed up alone in chalet, and kept to himself. But what happened off camera was far more explosive. Garner finally let loose in his 2011 memoir, The Garner Files. He labeled McQueen a pain in the ass, comparing him to Marlon Brando for his wild mood swings. He was more movie star than actor, Garner wrote, arguing that McQueen relied on a glossy persona instead of real depth. This bold claim shook readers and opened old wounds. Their clash went deeper than acting style. McQueen threw tantrums, rearranged shooting schedules, and bullied the director John Sturges into adding daring motorcycle stunts to boost his own screen time. Garner was flattered when Sturges offered to shift the story's focus onto him to calm the chaos. Yet he refused, knowing the film would topple without his ensemble balance. Instead, Sturges tweaked Hiltz's part to inject action, and many say those changes tipped the scale in McQueen's favor. Still, Garner saw McQueen's demands as selfish. He remembered how McQueen griped that his character lacked heroism, then watched him rewrite scenes to suit his ego. To Garner, it felt unnecessary and vain. His private diaries paint McQueen as an insecure, jealous soul who accused Garner of false affairs, claims Garner dismissed as pure paranoia. Meanwhile, Garner's bond with Charles Bronson grew just as rocky. Their poker night showdown still echoes in Hollywood lore. When Bronson refused to pay up a bet to help a struggling extra, Garner pressed him to keep his word. A heated fight nearly turned physical before tempers cooled. Yet years later at a chance restaurant meeting, neither man could erase the bad blood that poker tables had spilled. Garner did not shy from naming names in his memoir. He called Jack Warner one of the rudest executives he met and slammed Charlton Heston for his stiff acting. He even confessed to youthful experiments with MJ and White Stuff, recalling wild nights doing lines with John Belushi. This raw honesty shattered the image of Garner as simply the all-American hero. Politics steered Garner's career too. A proud liberal, he admired Adlai Stevenson and Barack Obama, and his values guided his choice of roles. He held The Notebook and the Americanization of Emily in highest esteem, the latter gaining cult status long after its release. Yet he admitted some of his films were mediocre at best, even calling a few downright bad, proving he never hid from his own missteps. Despite triumphs and scandals, Garner's crown jewel arrived with the Rockford Files. The 1970s brought Walter "Rocky" Rockford, a private eye who lived in a trailer and ran cons to pay his legal fees. NBC hit gold with that mix of humor and heart, but the road was anything but smooth. Network pressures pushed for bigger stunts and clashes with writers, producers, and even Jameson Tires, the show's sponsor, tested Garner's patience. Yet he fought those battles like any Maverick, refusing to bend to demands that threatened the show's soul. Every victory backed him into a new challenge. From skirmishes with studios over pay to face-offs with co-stars over credit, Garner never lost his straight-talking spirit. He showed that under the tuxedo and dry wit lived a fighter shaped by pain, determination, and unshakable integrity. That real James Garner, flaws and all, still shined brighter than any silver screen legend. Roy Huggins, the brilliant mind behind Maverick, had a bold idea. What if he reinvented his classic cowboy charm for the modern age? Teaming up with Stephen J. Cannell, he created the Rockford Files, a detective series that echoed the sly wit of Maverick, but traded the Wild West for the gritty streets of Los Angeles. At its heart was Jim Rockford, a wisecracking private living out of a beachside trailer. And nobody could play him better than James Garner. When the Rockford Files premiered in 1974, it was an instant smash. Audiences loved Rockford's everyman vibe. He wasn't some perfect action hero. He was broke, skeptical, and charming in his rumpled suits and beat-up shoes. That made him feel real, and people couldn't get enough. Garner's dedication to making Rockford authentic ran deep. He performed many of his own stunts, including those thrilling car chases that became the show's trademark. That adrenaline rush? It wasn't just acting. Garner, who had starred in the 1966 racing film Grand Prix, had a real love for cars, and his gold Pontiac Firebird became just as iconic as the character behind the wheel. But that drive for realism came at a price: his body. After 6 seasons of car crashes, tumbles, and stunts, Garner's knees and back were battered. Doctors warned him it was time to slow down. That warning, combined with soaring production costs, brought the Rockford Files to an end in 1980. Producing the show wasn't cheap. Action sequences chewed through budgets. Replacing smashed Firebirds cost a fortune. Even little touches like Rockford's now famous license plate, 853 OEG, added to the expenses. By the later seasons, guest stars became more frequent and more expensive, and the show's financial strain kept growing. Still, the series thrived on sharp writing and clever details. One beloved gag was Rockford's answering machine. Each episode opened with a new message, usually hilarious or strange. Coming up with fresh ideas got so tough that the writers opened a contest in the entire NBC building, asking employees to pitch new messages. Behind the scenes, the show helped launch big careers, most notably David Chase, who would later create The Sopranos. And the catchy theme song? That was Mike Post, who used Rockford to cement his name as one of television's greatest composers. But not everything was smooth. Garner ended up in a massive legal battle with Universal Studios over unpaid royalties. The fight dragged on for 8 exhausting years, but Garner won, securing a major settlement, though the amount was never made public. It was a fight he took seriously, not just for himself, but for every actor who deserved fair pay. Even after the original show ended, Garner wasn't done. In the 1990s, he returned to the role in 6 made-for-TV movies. Fans were thrilled, but behind the scenes, Garner was facing deeper challenges. He underwent major heart surgery during this time, a stark reminder of how hard the years and the stunts had been on his body. The legacy of Rockford lived on in attempted spin-offs. One idea in 1977, Gabby and Gandy, starring Isaac Hayes and Lou Gossett Jr., tried to catch fire with a backdoor pilot episode called Just Another Polish Wedding. But the audience didn't bite, and the project fizzled. Another effort revolved around Richie Brockman, a younger detective introduced in a TV movie and later on Rockford. That spin-off, Richie Brockman Private Eye, only lasted 6 episodes. It lacked the grit, heart, and charm that made Rockford magic. Fans were excited again in 2010 when a reboot was announced. Dermot Mulroney was cast as Jim Rockford, with big names like Steve Carell and David Shore involved in producing. The supporting cast included Alan Tudyk and Beau Bridges. Expectations were sky high, but the pilot flopped. Critics slammed the direction as bland, and Mulroney's performance didn't land with viewers. Even heavy re-editing by Prison Break's Dawn Peralez couldn't save it. NBC pulled the plug, leaving fans disappointed again. Still, despite failed reboots, one thing was clear. James Garner made the Rockford Files unforgettable. But behind Rockford's sharp lines and cool smile, Garner faced painful battles of his own. James Garner's hidden struggles revealed. James Garner wasn't just a TV hero. He was a true Hollywood legend. Loved for his warm smile, dry wit, and effortless charm. Off-screen, he was admired just as much. He stayed married to Lois Clark for nearly 60 years, a rare kind of loyalty in the film industry. Yet behind that golden image was a man silently fighting battles that few ever saw. Garner's health took a steep turn later in life. The physical damage from all those stunts on Rockford left him needing multiple surgeries on his back and knees. His body, once strong and agile, struggled to keep up. He later revealed how one health issue would lead to another, creating a chain reaction of pain. He endured chronic sinus infections, underwent heart surgery in 1988, and suffered a major stroke in 2008. Still, through all of it, he never gave in. His resilience echoed the roles he played, tough, steady, and unshakable. One terrifying moment showed just how fearless Garner could be. In a 1981 interview, he shared a story of being attacked during a road rage incident. After a minor accident, a furious driver lunged through his car window and dragged him out. Garner was kicked repeatedly, left with broken bones and concussion, yet he fought back, holding his ground even while bleeding. That wasn't acting. That was the real man behind the legend. Even in his later films, the pain didn't stop him. While filming Space Cowboys with Clint Eastwood, Donald Sutherland, and Tommy Lee Jones, Garner dislocated his shoulder. Eastwood, who had dealt with shoulder injuries himself, jumped in to help. But Garner brushed it off like it was nothing. Just a clumsy mistake, he said. The film had a lighter moment too, one that showed these legends didn't take themselves too seriously. In a hilarious scene, the 4 astronauts dropped their pants, giving the audience a glimpse of aging reality and getting a good laugh in the process. Sadly, Garner's health continued to decline after his stroke. On July 19th, 2014, James Garner passed away from a heart attack at age 86. The world lost more than an actor that day. It lost a man of grit, humility, and rare talent.